Welcome to Qutekcak Native Elder Voices radio program. Thank you to the Qutekcak Native Tribe and Tribal Administrator Dolly Wiles. I'd also like to thank Seward Senior Center Director Dana Paperman. My name is Sean Ullman. I'm happy to be here at the Qutekcak Native Center in downtown Seward. Happy to be a part of gathering Native elder voices and perspectives. It is May and it is snowing. Today's guest on the program is Judi Christiansen. Thank you for being here, Judi. Really appreciate it. Are there some stories that you would like to share today?
I would just like to start with, I was born here. I've lived here except for 2 years. I was raised in with a Native mother and a white father. And during my growing up years, there were very few Native families here. We had Native kids in our school because of Jesselee Home, but we never ever, at least I didn't, I don't know about my sisters and my brother, but never thought about a Native community as we have today because there weren't that many Native families. And I I was in my early 20s when Mount Marathon Native Association was organized, and I was a original member of that organization, and then we evolved into Qutekcak. And I did sit on the council for a few years after I retired, and things have really grown, particularly in the last few years. There seems to be a lot more activity going on with young people and elders. And Dolly seems to be on top of everything. And I think the main thing that all of us would like to see would be tribal recognition. And I know that there's been an ongoing monologue with Washington, D.C., the state of Alaska, all the delegates, and we just have to keep pushing for it, I guess. It doesn't seem like the government wants us to be recognized. We don't get a whole lot of press about it, for sure. But we just persevere, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a wonderful trip to Kodiak in last August. That was a group of elders. I had no idea what the Kodiak Museum and the tribal office over there were involved in. It's fascinating. We had a wonderful time. And I didn't get to go to the other museums, but some of the other elders did. They went to Homer and a couple other places to see the Native museums. I participated just recently in a cusput making class, which was a lot of fun. There was a lot of participation, and it was a real learning experience.
Yeah.
And beadworking. And with the Mount Marathon Native Association, we really that was right at the beginning in 1971, and it really, for probably not a lot of communities knew what they had to do or where to go for help, and but it was another one of those things where you just had to keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Persevering.
Yep, for sure. Oh. I don't know if you have any questions for me.
I've got several. I mean, that's a lot of great stuff. Maybe I'll work from the beginning. I like the activity, which here going on at the center. And you mentioned youth and elders, of course, making the kusbuk and beadwork. Can you talk about like some of the other activity, like to kind of help us see that,
Well, the other things that have happened mostly in the last few years is they've had a pretty good garden that they have set up. Most of it is container gardening, but they've have been able to get enough vegetables and things to make some meals, and I think that's been really an activity that nobody thought would happen,
Yeah.
because Seward's not known for its good soil,
Yeah, I want to follow up. What veggies went into this meal? Because this is for my notes for my garden. What does well? Like I grow potatoes, basically. That's it. But what kind of things were working in this gravelly soil?
Carrots, and I think they had, did they have cabbage and I think peas? I'm not sure what else, but I know they, have some of the herbs that they've
Right. Yeah. That
grown.
garden
Yeah.
is nearby
it-
here.
But it's all container gardening. It's right outside
Gotcha.
the building.
Yep. Cool. Yeah. The
It's
containers.
amazing
That's
what
the way to do it when
yeah.
you're by the sea here and rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have real good drainage, but there's
Right.
there's not much topsoil to work with or garden soil.
Right.
But that was really interesting, and I really don't think, 5-6 years ago, anybody thought that was going to be an activity to
Yeah.
develop.
That's probably one that can be sustained,
Mm-hmm.
and grow. Pun
Yep.
intended.
For sure.
Other activity, the potluck coming up in June, I've heard about from
Mm-hmm.
other guests. That's certainly a big one.
Yes, very. And it is, it's not only for the tribal members, it's for the community.
Right.
And they usually have pretty good turnout. And they usually have along with it the fire department and a couple other organizations that they can get to participate, where the fire department usually has you can sign up to have them come to your house and install smoke detectors or check your systems out. And there's usually someone from one of the health clinics.
Mhm.
It's really covers a lot of territory. Besides, they usually have a drumming group that comes from the other, from over around Kenai, Salina.
Right.
Usually the senior center participates.
Yeah.
It's been a good thing, and it's been done for, I don't know how many years, quite a few years. Of course,
COVID.
during the pandemic, it
Right.
didn't go, but
So
that
this
was,
is the big return. First
Yeah.
one since
Yeah.
had to stop. Yes, that'll be a big gathering. That'll be
Mhm.
nice. And that's at the Branson Pavilion,
Yep,
June.
June 3rd,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah,
Don't quote
we'll
me.
check that date. It'll be out, so.
Yeah,
But a month away.
yeah.
Neat. Probably won't be snowing,
Well, I hope not. My gosh.
right?
And they also, which has been good for, I suppose mostly the guys, but there are some women who fish off of the beach.
Right there, yeah.
And the Tim McDonald gives passes to the seniors from Qutekcak, so they don't have to pay the fee to get out on the
Oh, that's
beach
nice,
to
yeah.
fish.
Great.
And that's not too far off for red salmon.
Right? Yeah,
And the hooligan are running now.
yeah. Oh, right now.
I'm pretty sure they are.
Okay,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so, because they're dipping for them up at 20 Mile
okay.
Bridge. I went to Anchorage a couple days ago, and there were cars parked
There we go.
along there with their dip nets.
Yeah. Get your fishing tips here on the show too. Thank you. I did that once, and I'm interested in it. It's neat.
Yeah, my folks always went and dipped hooligan, and my dad salted some, and he also smoked them, but they're so oily.
Right. So they do that here in Seward. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's always been a good hooligan run, where that's a tradition
yeah,
for families. Neat.
yeah, they definitely get a lot of hooligan from all over, seems like. All over the peninsula anyway,
Uh-huh.
and up the inlet.
They're tasty.
Yeah, I'm not real fond, real fond of them, but
Salt, yeah.
I like pickled herring.
Yeah, right.
Everybody has their own way of fixing them, I guess.
Right.
And I'm trying to think of anything else that
Yeah, more activity
done
that the tribe is-
activity-wise, yeah. Berry picking, of course, in the fall.
Yeah. So that's blueberries if we're going fall, right?
Blueberries and mossberries.
Mossberries.
Yeah, some people call them crowberries.
Oh, okay,
They're
yeah.
real small and they
Yeah.
grow real close to the ground.
Yep. Dark, tart.
Yeah, real
Alpine.
dark.
Yep.
And they,
They got a little crunch.
yeah.
Yeah.
And cranberries, yeah.
Cranberries, yeah, the low.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, few people pick the high bush, but
Yeah.
we've never, they make like ketchup out of it.
Yeah. The high bush I like, and they're not all picked because in winter you'll see them, in this kind of snowy forest. Then here's like this red dots. I'm like, oh, and you
Yeah.
want a little burst of kind of sour flavor. It's
Yeah.
real fun. Shake it up. I always take that opportunity. Yeah, berry picking.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and they also take a group of elders up to Palmer
Mm-hmm.
in August for, what do they call it? You can go in and pick your own vegetables.
Okay.
You pick it, is
Yeah.
what it's called. Yeah, I've never been on one of the trips, but I know 5 or 6 of the other people that
Mm-hmm.
love to go, and
Yeah.
it's just never worked out for me. It's kind of a bad time of the year when they go.
Yeah. August we're still pretty busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I usually have something else. And I have grandchildren and great-grandchildren that I try to spend some time with before school starts, so that,
Right.
and think the NYO groups have really been active, and I know that's not elder, but
Oh, that's
the
great.
elders do some things for them and, raise funds or help them with trips. And
Uh-huh. NYO stands for, forgive me.
Native Youth Olympics.
Yeah, oh yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's been pretty active for quite a few years. And it definitely brings the community together. And we used to have a dance group, which kind of went by the wayside. All of a sudden, the kids that were interested kind of all grew up, but that was one thing that the elders helped with. They, not that I ever did any dancing or knew any songs, but we had enough older people who did have that experience, and so there would be 6 or 7 of the elders that would come and help out,
Yeah.
and made regalia for them and their headdresses, and so they did. It went for quite a few years, but we lost a couple of elders who were more active, like Leo Canuck, who was a King Island dancer, and that's where he was from, and he was a really big help, and he passed away a few years ago, so it hasn't been quite so. And I don't know that I don't think they have a dance group right now of kids.
Here.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for Qutekcak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something Charlie touched on yesterday, how that's it would be really nice to have that. And what does it take? And I think you're hitting right on it. Like the elders, Charlie said this too, they know the songs,
Yeah.
they know the rhythms, and
Mm-hmm.
so you need that. So it's just passing down, that's how it's preserved, that's how it goes on, these important rituals and culture.
Yeah, because there's a lot of us that are my age that never ever lived in a native community or
Right.
had family that spoke native languages. My mom was raised in a Catholic mission, so she had no background for,
Mm-hmm.
all the native things that other people that weren't raised
Right. Yeah.
in a Caucasian.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was kind of sad that so many of us didn't have the opportunity to participate in all the activities, and we didn't have my mom's mother would visit once in a while, but for a few days every year or two didn't amount to a whole lot of time for her to teach us anything.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, like everyone has their own story, right? Your own mixture of where you come from and what you bring, how you were raised. Just kind of starting to talk to Qutekcak tribe guests here, in this program. I'm trying to be a fast learner, and it's neat how everyone can bring in their knowledge from wherever they grew up, and that can be shared here and kind of made into.
Yeah, it's a real diverse group when you figure we have people from all over the state of Alaska that
Right.
belong to this tribal organization.
Yeah.
Really learn a lot of different things from, the other areas.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah, what a strength,
fun.
to,
Yep.
to bring in all these different Native perspectives and have a place, to share and create, a Native community here.
Yeah, because it's really been nice to have all the different tribes represented, and they in turn still have their, like, Seward people usually are members of the Chugach organization, but we have people here who belong to North Slope, they belong to Southeast, people from out in the chain, and interior Alaska. So we have a melting pot, and it definitely, you see a different perspective and see different, have different learning experiences.
Yeah. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think we
It is.
can go to what you talked about earlier with the starting of the Mount Marathon organization, right? Because can you talk more about that? Like, I think that goes right into this, like maybe seeing a need. Hey, there's a lot of Native people here. We want to organize. We want to be, have an official way to be recognized and building, which, I imagine this wasn't here, like to gather.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, so can you talk about like that starting and how that,
The Mountain Marathon organization was first started, there were probably, like with most organizations, there's 5 or 6 people who give the push.
Yep.
And we had people who were ready and willing to keep going with it. Because it could have, after a couple of years, it could have just fell apart. But we had people who had a vision and kept it going, and were able to get funding to keep an office open. And I don't remember what year it was changed to Qutekcak Native Tribe, but they definitely were able to keep going and keep getting enough funding to have a vital group and start, doing activities and getting the word out about tribal recognition. And they had always had someone on the Chugach board and the Chugach Mute board to look for more opportunities for activities and to get funding. And it was before I was on the council that they had raised enough money to start this building. And that was a real feather in their cap
sure.
to get the building. And now we probably could use a building twice this size.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a long haul, but
Growth.
yeah, it has grown considerably.
Those early go-getters who had a vision and kept it going,
Yeah,
they're celebrate them, because here
Yeah.
you are and it's grown, it's here.
yeah, for sure.
That's great.
And I'm sure our biggest desire is tribal recognition and to now that they're going to build a clinic,
Right.
and my understanding was that they were to break ground in April, but I don't know what the date is now,
Mm-hmm.
but that will be awfully nice to have
Yeah.
because the clinic they have now at North Star, they're busy all the time, and they're always short on space. It'd be nice to know that the clinic is there and is expanding and growing, and it's a lot of opportunity there for people to work.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably, I don't know what else they've, are talking about for their 5-year plan or their, in the future, but it seems like they have some very dedicated council members.
Yeah. Clinic talked about with Miranda yesterday. That's a big project that, it's going to cause some good changes. I think as far like building on what she said yesterday, like communication, among tribes with Qutekcak and Chugachmute villages, more training, more just being here together,
Yeah.
right?
More of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a long time getting to that point, but
Yep.
it's another one of those, never give up, you just keep pushing
Yeah.
to
I
get
think-
something done.
I think, Judy, you've got a good theme here. What you're talking about, like persevere, never give up, and look, there are
Yeah.
results. Just
Yeah, doesn't happen as fast as we'd like, but it does
yeah.
get done.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. I think, so 1971, Mount Marathon Organization. This building is around, what date would you say?
Let me think. Must have been 2004, 2005, somewhere in that area. I'm not positive. But
So where would Mount Marathon and then Qutekcak meet, or before this building?
before this building, they had a couple offices in where the North Star Health Clinic is, up on the second floor.
Yep, right nearby.
And so the council meetings took place up there.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to that, it was kind of, I think, the places where the council met were really varied. They didn't really have they had an office usually, but a lot of times that office was pretty small.
Uh-huh.
But,
It's a long time to
Yeah.
operate like that, but
mhm.
now we've had 20 years here with this building, and
Yeah, almost, I think.
Yeah.
It must be close to 20 years. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure somewhere in the office they have a timeline, but where different things took place. But
right, that's a good, ballpark. That helps.
Yeah.
Helps us, I think.
yeah, to me, time it just goes so fast. It's hard to
Yeah.
hard to think. Wow, it's been 20 years they've been in this building. Almost though.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, I know I wasn't on the board, on the council very long before they moved into this building.
yeah.
It's nice.
I'm gonna, just stick to what I tell students when I teach writing, and I've heard this is good. No question is a bad question. So I'm basically just gonna, expose myself as not having much knowledge here. But this is very interesting to me about, how Qutekcak is a melting pot, as you said, drawing from several different tribes all around Alaska. Were there other examples of that, around Alaska, let's say, or even nearby on the Canadian Peninsula that Qutekcak drew from or had as an example?
Not to my knowledge, because the other communities in, or tribes in the Chugach region, they all are were already groups, and they were villages, and Seward wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Seward was a trading post,
Yeah.
as Miranda said yesterday.
Yeah, and, the reason there are as many Native families as there is or were was because of TB. Because many of the people who were brought to the Seward Sanatorium for TB remained here after they were discharged. So that's, in the, 30s and 40s and early 50s, TB was so prevalent, and Seward was where most people came.
To get
and
help.
they brought families with them, and they were trained they had job training. And we had a family, both parents were in the San, and they had 4 or 5 kids that were in Jesselee. They trained him to be a bookkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
Another fellow ran a garage.
Cool.
Some of the women had office training. They trained in the kitchen. A lot of the families had jobs and stayed here. So, in none of the other communities that I know, that has happened.
I want to stay with this because it's great, connecting a lot of dots for me, but I made notes, so I can get back to it. Kenaitze, Cook Inlet, are they, Qutekcak, is there a parallel there? They're more of the
No.
Chugach and Bennett, okay.
Yeah.
Rather than like pulling from several tribes and, okay.
No, I don't think so. I think Seward is probably,
And then I also, another thought here is, has Qutekcak now we're talking 55 years, right? 71. I wonder if Qutekcak has served as a model for other, to kind of create a
I
organization.
don't know. I've never heard
Yeah.
of any communities doing that,
Uh-huh.
but
It fits Seward so well as you talk about, sanitarium, like this bell goes off my head, like, oh, that's a melting pot right there. People are
Yeah.
coming from all over to be treated, to get help. Jesse Lee home,
yeah.
same
there's another-
type of thing. Natives are coming from all over the state to have a place to live.
Yeah,
And then the trading post, you go way back, right, before
Yeah.
town was settled.
yeah,
By the Belanes. Trading post, they're coming from a little closer there, but they're
Right.
coming from other locations
right,
for the good things that are here in Seward. There, I'm thinking resources and fishing, with sanitarium and Jesse Lee Home, it's help and,
yeah.
So this melting pot, as you described, is built into this area's history.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really diverse.
Yeah. And then with that, you get so many strengths as far as having different kinds of people, different natives, who can bring all their knowledge and their lifestyles and the way they were brought up, share it and create something.
Yeah,
Pull a little from this, a little from that. Those opportunities are there.
yeah, it definitely pulled people together.
Yeah. It's a good story.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I also liked how you mentioned going to the Kodiak Museum and you learn so much about what they're all involved in. Can you share a little bit about, what they're all involved in, or talk about these visiting other museums and learning about other Native cultures? And
I think all of us were very impressed because the Kodiak Museum, they have a huge room that they have a lot of artifacts and a lot of history that I've never ever come across before. And I think they're kind of unique since they're an island and they had so much Russian influence, and a lot of that shows in their museum. They also have the what was it in one of their displays, photos and pictures of, from way back and more recent of a lot of the Native families in Kodiak. There's families that have been there for forever.
Right. Yeah.
And they have all that history documented, which is amazing. And they also have Alutiiq language classes that they hold at the museum. They have a lot of nice programs that, and they always seem to be busy with a lot of other things, plus they've been able to and worked with some of the I'm not sure if it was the Smithsonian or one of the bigger and have repatriated artifacts, which I think is one of their bigger accomplishments.
That's a big one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. It was very interesting. It would have been nice to stay a couple more days.
Yeah. I love traveling around the state, and it's a really special experience for so many reasons. But that cultural, the museums, and you can learn about the history of that area and how it pertains to this area, your area. Now, Alutiiq, that relates to here, right? Nunwalek, Point Graham, Yak, Alutiiq. So in Kodiak, not too far away.
No.
So, going to that museum, you learn about the Alutiiq, you learn about kind of this area's people and history.
Yeah.
You go to those communities, and that's forever,
Still
as far as.
connected.
Yeah.
It was a great trip, that's for sure.
Yeah. Maybe more of these visits to museums, ahead for you.
Could be.
Yeah, you mentioned the Homer one, and yeah. Let's see, we're covering it, Judi. Let me take a moment here to check some notes. This has been really fascinating, and I appreciate it.
While you're doing that, I'm gonna have some water.
Yes, nice work. Anything else that comes to mind for you that you want to share here today?
I don't think so. I think we kind of covered most of everything.
Yeah, we covered a lot. Well, we really appreciate you, being here today and sharing your knowledge and your story and your perspective on Qutekcak and on Seward, and yeah, it's really nice.
Thank you.
So I appreciate
It's
it.
nice to meet you and to participate.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Judi Christiansen here on Qutekcak Native Elder Voices. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.